You are about to enter a dimension not only of sight, sound, taste, or even mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. There's a signpost up ahead. Next stop, Jake Steve's. Hi, long-haired freaky dude here, Jakey Steve, and today I'm going to review the Grecian tragedy play, Choephoroe, or Libation Bears as people have come to know it, by Aeschylus, translated into English verse by G.M. Cookson. It is the second play in a tetralogy of 3, and as such should be read in order. It's not necessary, but it's highly recommended. So if you haven't already, go and read Choephoroe's predecessor, Agamemnon, before proceeding, for there will be major spoilage of the play Agamemnon. There will, however, be little to no spoilers of the Libation Bearers, only the details necessary to help you decide whether or not to read it. All in all, this was a fairly great verse translation of the play, but as usual, I prefer a good old prose translation myself. And because of its versy poeticness, this translation may be hard to understand. Very hard. So I strongly suggest to read this while you are awake with your fullest attention. This is not something you read before going to sleep or in a noisy room. The best conditions are in a quiet room with a cup of coffee and a dictionary, because there are a lot of crazy words. But if you could get past all of this, there is actually a decent Greek tale to be told. Picks up at the sepulchre of Agamemnon, where his son Orestes, accompanied by his friend Pylades, are grieving, cursing, but most of all plotting against the little twits that killed Orestes' father. Aeschylus, Agamemnon's cousin, was the chief conspirer of his death, wanting to get vengeance for his father, whose flesh was consumed by Agamemnon. Clytemnestra, Agamemnon's wife and Orestes' mother, carried out the plan and killed him, wanting vengeance for sacrificing one of their daughters, Iphigenia, for the Trojan War. All this might make Agamemnon sound like a terrible man, worthy of his death, but if you consider the mindset people lived with back then, as well as the noble things he did in the Iliad, you might second-guess yourself. Later to join the company of Orestes in his plot, shall I say, is his sister Electra. My, what a beautiful name. Electra, I like it. All of Aeschylus' plays, I'd have to say that this one has the best dialogue, which in a rare circumstance actually includes the voices of 3 people. I might even call it a conversation rather than a sequence of monologues. In one circumstance, there was a quite powerful scene with Orestes, his sister Electra, and the chorus where they conjure the spirit of Agamemnon. A lot of very powerful language is used. You can really get a sense of the common bond these characters all share, as well as their love for their departed father and king. It's got to be the best conversation of any tragedy I've yet to read. I can't imagine how powerful and moving this must be when performed on stage. It must be a real sight to see. It also feels oddly spiritual for a play of Greek theology, which is, interesting. There is some cleverness to their plan, which, to me, reminds me of the Odysseus' plan to overthrow the suitors. Now, not saying you will, but in the end you might question how this is a tragedy. Well, it is. It fits the definition. Suffering. Someone suffers. This story is rather straightforward in that little history is told and that little future is prophesied. Makes for a great play, my favorite of Aeschylus' tragedies. It's got beautiful dialogue, clever plans, exciting vengeance, and much action, as well as quite a few scene changes. Not sure how that worked back in the day, but apparently it did. It's clear to see how this play has remained a part of Western culture. Now I'll shut my mouth and let the play do the talking. I'm going to read a few quotes I liked as well as the first few lines of the play. Choephoroe, The Libation Bearers, by Aeschylus. Translated into English verse by G.M. Cookson. You are slow to know me when you see me face to face, and yet this snip of hair could give you wings. And then another one I liked. To our cursed masters, whom I pray to God I may see in a bubbling pinewood blaze. The very last verse of the play was my favorite, but it was rather long and spoilagey, so I'll refrain from reciting it. I will, however, recite the first few lines of Choephoroe, Libation Bearers. Alright, Choephoroe. Orestes, O Chthonian Hermes, steward of thy sire, receive my prayer, save me, and fight for my cause, for I am journeyed back from banishment, and on this mounded sepulchre I call on my dead sire to listen and give ear. This lock of Innocuous for nurture, this for mourning. Father, I was not by to wail thy death, or with stretched hand dispatched thine whatever. What's this? Look you, what company of woman with such ostent of sable stories attired moves on its way? What troubles in the wind? Hath some fresh sorrow fallen on thy house? Or bring they these libations for my father? As my heart tells me, to appease the shades. It cannot be aught else. There is my sister, Electra, walking with him, and she wears a woeful look. O Zeus, give me to venge my father's murder. Fight upon my side. Pylades, let's withdraw. I would fain know what may this woman's supplication mean. Oh, that was terrible reading. I am sorry. Yeah. That's how G.M. Cookson translates. Perhaps that's what you want to read. Perhaps you want to read a prose translation, which is highly suggested. But I've never read a prose translation of this myself, so I can't attest for any specific ones. Alright, so I'm Jakey Steve. That's Bibliophile Productions and an LZ Productions. And be sure to have a most awesome, super splendid, extra bodacious day.